Hi, friends, and welcome to another episode of your Bish Therapist podcast. I am your host, Melissa Reich, a real life therapist turned pop culture aficionado, serving clinical interpretations and hot takes on all things pop culture. And today's episode is going to be a bite sized Bish solely dedicated to the Summer House Reunion Part 1. I had a litany of slides, too many slides. For social media. And so I thought, well, even though the great news is that you're going to be getting a lot of me talking about Summer House, because not only am I doing this episode today, but this week, Mandy and I are recording M&M Hour, where we're going to talk more about Summer House, the Bravoverse, all of it. But I wanted to hop on today because, as I said, I think I had 17 slides pared down from 25. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Sometimes I'm like, Melissa, why do you make more work for yourself? But I'm passionate about what I do. I'm super into it, and I don't know. I don't love the darkness of it, but I love that I am here to let people know what you're thinking and feeling is valid. It makes a lot of sense and it has psychological backing to it. So basically, I'm just going to get into it. The fact that reunion episodes vary. Reunion part ones can usually be a little sleepy or introductory, but the way that I knew this was going to be epic is that so much of the drama started on March 31st, 2026, when we literally realized that Kyle, Lindsay, and the rest of the Summer House cast sincerely found out about West and Amanda at the same time, in the same way that the collective Bravoverse did. And I swear to you, I had chills. Kyle walks in to Lindsay's In the City confessional. So for those of you who are not watching In the City, it's basically was filmed a couple weeks to a month after Summer House wrapped. And what's so fascinating about this In the City crossover is it's featuring Amanda and Kyle. And next week, West and Sierra are going to be on. Here's why this is so relevant to me, because it hit me like a ton of bricks. We are watching two different shows, okay? Summer House and In the City, where Amanda is giving completely different narratives at the same time. So essentially, what I'm saying is that Amanda's storyline on In the City is ridiculous in that she is moving out, but she's telling Kyle, I'm doing this for us. I'm going to therapy for us. I want this to work out. This isn't the end. I'm not running away. Okay. So her In the City storyline is all about her making things work with Kyle, yet cut to this reunion. And Amanda now has this completely different life with West, where she's claiming that they didn't have an affair or nothing nefarious happened. And I'm like, does no one else realize that we are watching two shows filmed literally just months apart, where Amanda's claiming to have two totally different lives? When I realized that, I was like, oh, yeah, she's just completely telling on herself and pretending that she isn't. And by the way, In the City has been a literal treasure trove for me of information about Amanda, less Kyle, but more Amanda, which I will get to in a minute. And frankly, there's some of the In the City cast I don't like, and it's not super, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it yet, but I will continue to watch the Amanda, Kyle, and especially with next week. So Reunion Part 2 is airing when Sierra and West come on In the City to visit Amanda. And again, it's like, I'm waiting to see where the intersection of Amanda's reality comes in. Because right now, her reality doesn't seem based in what's really going on. So again, we watch Kyle, Lindsay, Carl, Mia, and Jesse spin out in real time as they unravel the layers of lies and deceit. It's like The Usual Suspects when at the end people are realizing who Kaiser Sose really is. And it's like all these flashes and these things. And then everyone's like, oh my gosh, we knew it. Yes. So I just think that one important thing to note here is if Amanda and West are saying that they lied and they made mistakes, this is just a wild way to treat your friends, period, dot, end of sentence. So you're going to let your closest friends in the world find out the same way and time as the collective Bravoverse? Like the disrespect of that is just wild. Cut to, April 23rd, 2026, which was several weeks after we see Lindsay and Kyle and everyone spin out over this whole thing. So, from the start of this, we see West and Amanda have their own dressing room, and they both were just frighteningly calm. And I say frighteningly because congruent behavior is when our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors all match up. So if I say I'm sad and I'm crying and I look like I'm sad and I'm, all these things, that's congruent behavior. Incongruent behavior is when our thoughts do not match our actions. And that is what we're seeing with Amanda and West just throughout. They are incongruent in terms of like, I am not even involved in this situation, but if I was in that dressing room at the summer house reunion, I would have had more nerves than Amanda and West, which is just like a wild red flag. Amanda asked West how he was feeling, and he literally said zen, and I was like, what the actual fuck? So what was funny is Andy clocked the insane energy. Andy said, you two seem very calm, and I cackled because it's not a compliment, that's a read. Like that's Andy was silent, like secretly reading these two, which I actually love when Andy does that because, he's not impartial. He's a human and he's wrapped up in all of this just like we are. So I think it was amazing that Andy clocked like the very odd vibes. And when Andy asked Amanda and West, how do you think things will go? West said, there's nothing new that's going to come out. And I thought, sir, what? That's all that's going to be coming out is answering questions of when did this start and what's the timeline and did you have an affair and all these things. There's nothing new that's going to come out. And then Amanda said it's just going to be shutting down the rumors. Oh my God. Okay, so what does this tell me? This tells me that these two have no awareness about the gravity of the situation or how their behaviors impacted others. And so their incongruent presentation of like being inappropriately calm indicates a couple of things. Either they are emotionally disconnected, they are delusional, or they lack empathy, or a combination of all. And listen, there may be other things at play here, but for me, these are the only situations that I can think of that would explain this or make sense. There's a really interesting, I didn't write this on Instagram, but I will say it here, is that I talk about this a lot. It's called folie à deux, which translates to shared psychotic disorder, where two people will share delusional beliefs not based in reality. Because when people are delusional and they have delusional beliefs, it is incredibly rare for another person to share those delusional beliefs. And so while I am certainly not diagnosing, and I'm not saying that Amanda and West have a delusional disorder, but I'm saying this gives flavors to me of folie à deux, which is like the two of you are sharing these delusional beliefs, like not clinically delusional, but just common sense says this is a bigger issue. Like you've seen how the internet has reacted. You've seen how your friends have reacted. And for you to come in thinking that this is what's going on, I mean, again, emotional disconnection, delusion, lack of empathy, or all of the above. So I want to say that I feel like Sierra handled herself amazingly well. Amazingly well. She held her ground. She kept her foot on people's necks. She maintained her dignity and respect. And she had every right to say all the things that she said. So it's starting with when Amanda said that she was prepared to apologize to Sierra and Kyle. And it's like, yeah, I'd hope you are. And then Sierra said, well, I'm glad she could say our names this time, referencing the joint announcement where there was no apology to anybody. It was just about West and Amanda, which is very, now looking back, it's very indicative of the way these two are moving. These two think that they're victims, they're being unfairly treated. They have no awareness, understanding, care, or concern for the fact that they just disrupted everybody's lives. The cast, the fans. I mean, this is a dynamic that is forever fractured and will never be the same. And the two people who caused it don't seem to care at all, which is red flags all day. So Sierra called out how they didn't apologize in their social media post. And I think the reason she called it out is because Amanda was being disingenuous, right? She's trying to present as like, yes, I know I owe people an apology, but true apology is seen in our behavior. So this is a moment where Amanda's claiming she's sorry. And then just moments later, she tells Sierra to fuck off. Okay. She's not sorry. She's not sorry about anything. That's what that tells me. This episode of Summer House, we watched a lot of nonverbal communication from West and Amanda. And so I want to be clear about two different things. There's paralanguage and then there's nonverbal communication. So paralanguage refers to vocal elements of communication, pitch, tone, volume. Nonverbal communication includes facial gestures, which I love a facial gesture, which is why these videos are fun to watch. Facial expressions, body language, hand gestures, the whole thing. And so, why I bring this up is these two aspects are crucial roles in conveying meaning and emotions and interactions, but they also can be exploited in manipulative relationships. And so, the exploitation part lies in using these things to make other people think that you are contrite and understand when your behaviors are incongruent to these presentations. Okay. So, one great example of this is West. His facial gymnastics were so insane. He was smiling and laughing with the rest of the cast throughout other people's packages. And it was like, sir, you don't have friends here. Like, you have no, like, tell me you have no awareness without telling me you have no awareness. You are not part of this kiki. Please remove yourself. But West cannot help himself. And so we listened to West use very reasonable tones and words resembling accountability to draw people in. And so one thing about this paralanguage is that subtle shifts in tone of voice and nonverbal cues can turn communication into a tool of manipulation. And to me, I believe that's what we witnessed. So West's facial gymnastics are likely about like his wanting to control without having to say a word because he either has nothing to say or he's manipulative in the way that he's saying things, which Lindsay and Sierra called out at the end, which is like, you almost had us. He's so, so good at this. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But West's facial expressions are about probably like his passive rebellion, his a symptom of his complete bullshit and just his desire to control. So Sierra and Kyle, their suspicion began, they said, on January 17th when Amanda wasn't answering her phone and her location was at West's house. Amanda said that West was there for me all summer and checking in. And I had a couple of realizations as I was like getting ready for this reunion because much like a professional athlete would prepare for an event, I also mentally prepared. Like I was just thinking about Summer House. I was thinking about the season. I was thinking about what's going on. And I swear to you, it hit me so hard. And it was called out at the reunion. So I was thinking to myself, like, why would West do all these things on camera when he secretly had a girlfriend, Mia? Oh God, I'm sorry. I'm so bad with this. I always do that. Meija, Wes's girlfriend. And I thought to myself, well, if he was dating her and he's also doing ear stuff with Sierra, which by the way was like one of the grossest red flaggiest moments of the whole thing. Like West trying to deny that they were making out, but instead doing ear stuff. And what's crazy is Amanda, you could tell she was upset because Andy was like, did you know that Sierra and West kissed? And she was like, I didn't know the extent of it. So what I'm assuming is West told Amanda that they did ear stuff, which will haunt my nightmares. It will haunt my dreams, my nightmares. That phrase, I think I need EMDR to get that phrase out of my brain. But my point is I think he's so accustomed to lying and he's so accustomed to be able to talk himself out of things that I don't think he cares about the consequences because he's always been able to maneuver around it. And so when Amanda said that West was there for me all summer checking in, I don't think West was checking in. I think he was just assessing his ability to get laid now that Amanda is separated. Because here's one thing that I want to be clear about at this reunion. The one thing that's really clear is that Amanda's retained counsel, but that is it. They are not legally separated. They are not in the process of divorce. And on in the city, Amanda is still trying to sell Kyle a bag of bullshit about wanting to repair their relationship. And I'm sorry, you can't have things both ways. You can't pretend that you're in it and then that you're out of it. And so I don't know, I feel like to me that's just the greatest proof that Amanda is just not being honest with herself, others, or the world. And Sierra read text showing Amanda continuously just deceiving her. So my question was, West and Amanda lied so easily and often to people. But what was their end game? Because you're being filmed. And so I personally think that their end game, personally, was banking on Kyle looking like the villain so that they could ride off into the sunset and have their moment without being held accountable for anything. And boy, did that backfire. Because at one point, Andy asked Kyle, how does it feel to not be the biggest problem in the room? And Amanda and West's facial gestures spoke volumes. I just think that they're disappointed that their plan blew up in their faces. That's what I think. And so Sierra called West out for being a fraudulent person, which he is. He is a very fraudulent person, and it's actually pretty scary. Sierra called him out on having a girlfriend, and West had an allergic reaction to the word girlfriend, saying that I was seeing someone. And it's like, my thought was, Amanda, good luck. You are in danger. You have alienated any person who really cared about you for Charlie Brown. I mean, for real. And again, I love Charlie Brown, but it's too good of an analogy. So I can't. So the concerning thing was that, well, one of many, is that Amanda knew that West was seeing this woman, and they had a conversation about it and decided to move full steam ahead anyway, which is so bizarre. So I believe that Sierra said something that made me believe this. Sierra said, you chose the one guy, and then she trailed off, and Amanda responded, I didn't choose. And I was like, okay, so here's what's happening. Amanda has been in the passenger seat of her life forever. And unfortunately, she's convinced herself that she's a victim who is just along for the ride and is not accountable for her actions. And proof of this is that she continued her victim stance, saying, I'm not allowed to pursue something. No one has ever been in this situation before, which is like laughable but it is a peak victim stance, which shows just lack of understanding, ownership, or acknowledgement of behaviors. So again, it's this, we're seeing incongruent words, actions, behaviors. So Andy asked for an intimacy timeline. Amanda and Wes said their first kiss was at the end of February, after he had brunch with Kyle. And while I think that they're lying, I think that that's really relevant. Oh, and here's another thing that's really relevant. They claim that they didn't have sex until after the statement was released. And so here's the thing. Do I think they're lying? Yes. But also, the fact that they used those examples as proof of like how they didn't do anything wrong is wild, because the timing of these milestones for me makes it feel like lying, sneaking around, and shame is their sexual kink. I mean, to me, that's what it feels like. There feels like a lot of sexual compulsory kind of behavior in all of this. And it feels like, when I worked in addiction centers, sometimes relationships have flavors of like substance use because they just feel icky and compulsory and dark and problematic. And that's kind of the feel that I get from these two. So moving on from that for a minute, number one, I loved how Bailey clocked the fuck in. Number one, observing how West was just quietly allowing Amanda to get annihilated, because that man is loyal to no one but his penis. Okay. But Bailey also checked Ben in ways that I was like, yes, girl, yes. She clocked Ben for how he talks to women, reprimanding women. I don't like the way you talk to me. Or Sabrina, you talk to Sabrina like shit. And everyone loves Sabrina. Sabrina seems like an amazing human. But Ben, she called out Ben how he has this sweet approach with Kyle, while when he has conflict with women, they get reprimanded. And she just cooked Ben to medium no, I'm sorry. Bailey cooked Ben to well done. There's no medium. She cooked him to a well done temperature. And she's like, I also believe that you were dating Sabrina this whole time, which is like, no doy. Ben came in, is quote unquote single, and now he's basically married. And it's like, please let Ben be a one and done because he sucks. But for me, one of the most amazing things that came from this reunion was KJ in a moment of vulnerability and bravery, talking about after filming Wrapped, he was psychiatrically hospitalized due to self harm behavior. So I want to explain a couple of things because KJ talked about his diagnosis, he talked about the process. So here's how it happens psychiatric hospitalization is the highest level of care. So when you are psychiatrically hospitalized, that means you are in a crisis and you need immediate swift and continuous crisis intervention. And once you step down from inpatient, it is usually best advised to step down to a lower level of care because to go from inpatient to nothing is a setup for failure. So post discharge, KJ attended a mental health recovery center where he learned about the ways that he kind of ignored things his whole life and then it builds up and it leads to issues. And so KJ was diagnosed with, he said BPD. He didn't say what it means, so please allow me to explain. BPD is borderline personality disorder, which is a mental health condition that impacts how we interact and perceive ourselves, other people in the world. It is characterized by intense mood shifts and emotional dysregulation, distorted self-image, unstable relationships, and a feature of it is self-harm and suicidal behavior. And so let me be clear about something is that self-harm behavior isn't always or sometimes ever about suicide. Suicide, I believe, is when people's threshold, they exceed their threshold for pain and their brain is hijacked and they can't see a way out of it and they can't see anything changing. Self-harm is typically a way that people take out this distorted self-image or anger or frustration with others. They take it out on themselves. It's not necessarily about dying. Here's the example that I use. It's like if you took a balloon and the balloon was overfilled with air, okay, and it's about to pop. And if you just take a little bit of air out of the balloon, a little bit of air, it comes back to a regular size. That's how people who self-harm, it has been my experience that it's to let some pressure out, which is obviously counterintuitive and it is unhealthy because nobody deserves that. Nobody deserves it. But sometimes people, when they lack other skills or they don't have the resources, they take things out on themselves. And so I want to say that there are many factors that can contribute to this, but epigenetics says that it's usually a combination of genetics, environment, which includes childhood trauma, and differences in brain structure. And so there's been a lot of research studies that indicate that certain areas of the brain involved in emotional regulation may function differently in people with severe childhood trauma and borderline personality disorder. So here's what I need to say about this. Anyone who struggles with this, with personality disorders, with self harm, with unstable relationships, I want you to hear me clearly. You matter. Your brain is lying to you. Recovery is possible. And I promise you deserve better than you're giving yourself right now or or that you've gotten. The best treatment for borderline personality disorder is a combination of psychotropic medication and psychotherapy. And I will continue to fight RFK if he tries to take away our meds. I will single-handedly lead a motherfucking revolution. And I will say this every week. So KJ, we love you. we thank you, because sharing your experience, strength, and hope not only helps take that toxic shame away when we share, we all feel a little bit more understood and safe. So KJ not only saved himself, but I guarantee he helped other people as well. So thank you, sir, for your bravery, for your vulnerability. And I just, all the love in the world to KJ. So let me land this plane because this is not a full episode, but at the end of the reunion, I was really grateful that Sierra and Lindsay called out Wes' ability to draw women in because he has this uncanny ability to draw women in, disarm them, all while encouraging them to remove their boundaries and to betray their gut instincts. Because one thing I said about Sierra, she it was actually correct that I found out last night on the reunion, which is that Sierra didn't let West back in because she didn't know better. She was overriding her gut instinct all in an effort to be less quote unquote rigid. And so West, I believe he capitalized on this weakness, which to me truly appears to be predatory. Predatory individuals use manipulative and controlling behaviors. They have a tendency to ignore personal boundaries and engage in sexualizing conversations or physical contact. And Carl even noted in the beginning that you don't touch women that are married like that. And so West has a persistent and pervasive pattern of breaking through people's boundaries physically, verbally, all of it to get what he wants. And if that's not predatory, I don't know what is. And so one thing I realized is that when Amanda and Wes talked about like how did this all start, and Wes claims that he was looking at Amanda saying, am I crazy or is this something here? And what I realized is I'm like, oh my God, West used his shtick on Amanda with no intent on being serious. And then he inadvertently ended up falling ass backwards into the commitment of the century. I mean, truly, if this makes anyone feel better, West is in a hell of his own making. He is now in this relationship with someone who he's allergic to relationships. He's incapable of commitment or sincerity or truth. And so he's living his hell. I hope I can reframe for everybody that this is actually West is actually getting exactly what he deserves. But let me tell you, here's how I'm going to end this. I want to tell everyone how people have been fooled by West and will continue to be fooled by West. Because make no mistake, Amanda's life after this will probably be not great. West will thrive. He will be fine, thanks to the patriarchy being alive and well, and women loving to support shitty male behavior. It's like when serial killers go to prison and then women like come out of the woodwork to right them and stuff. It's like, oi, it's kind of giving that feeling. But here's why I believe everyone is fooled by West. Good people want to believe that humans, even though we're flawed, are generally good people. And good people with a modicum of empathy have a hard time understanding and identifying the fact that there are dangerous individuals out there that look just like you and I. And society has taught us that quote unquote crazy people are dangerous, but the most dangerous people live amongst us, hiding in plain sight. They're charming, they're manipulative, they're CEOs, they're heads of business, they're leaders. They're all the people. Those are the people that we should be scared about. And I have to be mindful about how I say this, but what I want to say is that sometimes people who are unwilling to abide by social contracts have underlying psychological issues preventing them from authentically engaging with the world. And that is the most well-spoken, clinically sound way for me to say what I'm saying without saying anything more that could get me in trouble. So the last thing I'll say is that at the end of In the City, Amanda told this story, which I swear was like a lightning bolt went off in my brain. On In the City, Amanda said that she hates change so much that when she was a child, she handcuffed herself to a stair railing to prevent her parents from removing it in a home renovation project. Like the stair railing in her house was cast iron and her parents were putting in like a wooden stair railing. And she was so opposed to the change that she handcuffed herself to the cast iron rail. And I just thought, wow, 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 wow. So basically what Amanda's done is she's so afraid of change and she's fearful, avoidant, she's painfully insecure, and she has a need to be taken care of. So over time, without intervention, this is just going to continue to leave her to handcuff herself to things that don't serve her. And that's it. So thank you for enjoying this furiously stated podcast. Please, if you could, give this podcast a 5-star review and rating. Check me out on Patreon, www.patreon.com/yourbishtherapist. Please follow me at yourbishtherapist on Instagram. Any ways that you support me, I appreciate it. So thank you so much for listening today. Stay tuned for an M&M hour where Mandy and I will continue to break this all down, and I cannot wait to see what next week brings. So for now, sending love to you and yours, and ta-ta for now. Disclaimer: posts are not intended to diagnose, treat, or provide medical advice. Your Bish Therapist is for entertainment and informational purposes only. The podcast, my opinions, and posts are my own and not associated with past or present employers, any organizations, Bravo TV, Greyheart Productions, or any other television network. The information in YBT podcast and on its social media is provided for general informational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose or treat. Please do not act or refrain from acting based on anything you read, see, or hear on YBT podcast or associated social media. Communicating with YBT via email and or social media does not form a therapeutic alliance. Melissa, operator of YBT, is unable to provide any therapeutic advice, treatment, or feedback.